first inspired to do an Ironman by Dane Hazeman, who was my first coach. He took me down to Elwood one day and was helping me with my open water swimming, and that day was a huge occasion for me because I had to swim out to the first marker, which is probably only 150 metres from the shore, and for me that was a huge distance. And once I made it, I thought, wow, this is exciting. I can learn to swim a bit more in the open water. So Dane was pretty determined that I get to be a better swimmer, which he really helped me with. And around a few years ago I did my first triathlon, just a little girly triathlon down at MSAC, breaststroke in the pool, about 8 k's on a little mountain bike with a basket on it, and then about a 3k run. I then moved up to mini distance triathlons and then did my first sprint, and can remember being amazed at how far the boys were out to sea for the Gatorade people, thinking, wow, how can they swim that far, and would I ever get that far? And I did. Then the next step was my first Olympic distance, again encouraged by Dane, who was sure I could do it, and I did. It took me a long time, but I made it. Exhilarating experience. And then it was time to step up to half Ironman. So my first half Ironman was in 2010 in Shepparton, and that was a pretty arduous thing for me. I found it very, very demanding. Probably didn't get the nutrition right, but still I was hooked. And when Dane heard about Melbourne Ironman being open, he suggested I give it a go. I really felt that Ironman was way beyond me, but I didn't want to die wondering. So I can remember one Sunday going for a swim at the Harold Holt where I did my laps, and thinking the race was going to go on sale, and if I was able to get in, then it was karma. I was meant to do it. And that's exactly what happened. I managed to get in, even though it sold out in a matter of minutes. I had my spot, so Ironman, here we come. Added to this, I'd gone to Kona in 2011 to watch Dane compete and to see the other competitors and have a holiday with Kieren. And that night I stayed to midnight and watched every single competitor finish, and was overawed by the experience, and just watching these age groupers in their 50s, 60s and even 70s finish. I thought, wow, you know, these are all ordinary people just like me. If they can do it, I reckon I can do it. So that was the big spark to have a go. That really changed my life, going to Kona. It was one of the most exciting experiences of my life, and I was on such a high. Actually, I can remember late at night ringing up friends and just saying what a great experience it was. So back in Melbourne, even though I had been training well before that, the training really took off in earnest. Lots of long bike rides. Kevin, my great friend, Kevin Cassidy, helped me with my swimming. I had been helping with my swimming for a long time, and he was really changed my technique a lot and tried to get me to do all those drill things, holding a glide and all of that stuff. So, and got me out into the open water. In fact, I did my first 3k open water swim with Kevin down at Brighton, and became a regular down at the Brighton Baths, and loved it down there. Even in the freezing cold in the winter, I'd still get in the water. So soon it was, well, I'll mention my other training, and that's the bike training. I used to go for my long rides pretty much on my own, because you're going to be on your own on the day, and I was just trying to get the distances up. Pretty scared always on the hills, the downhills and in the wind, and they were my big problems, and I worried intensely about whether I could cope in an Ironman situation, particularly if it was going to be windy. But you know, luckily on the day that didn't happen. So lots and lots of training, often on my wind trainer. I watched more TV than I ever had in my life, training for Ironman. I used to set up my computer and watch ABC iView, watched all the documentaries, watched lots of great drama series, The Slap, The Straits, The Tudors. Just loved it, and that ticked away the Ks. One particular day I did a 3-hour session on the trainer. It was pretty mega, and watched a few movies. So that was a great way to get the kilometres up when it was pouring or hailing, or I just didn't want to go outside. So all good training, got lots of training programs along the way, had a bit of time with Matt Tippett, and then met Oscar Carlson. I actually met him at Shepparton Half Ironman in 2011, and became friends with him, and he has a squad, OTT, and met lots of the people from that squad, and Oscar became my mentor and really got me through the last part of my training, and really believed in me. So race weekend came around. I've been pretty sick leading up to the Ironman. I'd had a very bad cold and hadn't been able to do all the training I wanted to do in the last couple of weeks, but Oscar convinced me that that was all good and I just needed to rest and gather my thoughts, and really it was all mental training, not the physical training. Ironman weekend, a few days leading up to the Ironman had been incredibly cold, even had some hail. The day I drove down to Frankston, I was going there for the weekend to settle in, huge storm. Thought my bike was going to blow off the back of my little Mini driving down there, and lost my bike pump and found it pretty crazy. On the Saturday, all the pre-events for the race had been cancelled due to the weather. The sea was very, very rough and lots of triathletes were pretty panicky about how hard the swim might be. Spent the afternoon just, you know, going through registration. It was pretty exciting being a part of it and meeting all these great people and checking everything in. There's lots and lots to think about. It's more than I'd ever imagined. Race morning, I got up about 4 AM, had something to eat, read my race plan over a few times, and my affirmation cards that my gorgeous friend Jo had sent me really helped. Got down to the race venue, it was dark, lots and lots of nervous people, and I sort of realised, well, you know, this was the day and there was no turning back. I had to face up to all my fears, and there were plenty of them. Down at the swim start, I bumped into my brother-in-law Chris Williver, and that was comforting to have someone else to panic with. We were both pretty scared, and in fact I was so scared I didn't want to get into the water. And in fact that was the start of my problems for the day, as I sort of missed the swim start as the gun went off, and there was actually a false start, so I was left behind in that and had to catch everyone up, and ended up swimming in the wrong direction for a while, which I often do in triathlons. I'm sort of known for that. I've got no sense of direction, and the open water is particularly challenging for me, as I don't have very good long distance vision. There weren't enough buoys, it was a crappy swim all up for me, and I got incredibly cold. So swim took a long time, and I was aware of how cold I was. A few people were getting out.
Mum! Mum! Run! Run! Hi!
Hello, boss.
Hi!
How you doing so far?
Freezing! Hi!
Good luck.
Run!
Stella Barber from Melbourne, Frankston.
Go, Mum!
Close to me, and one guy got onto the water safety craft, and I thought, wow, you know, he's giving up. I could give up too. It would have been so easy to give up, and so many times during the day I did think about giving up, but no way was my race going to be over before the end of the swim. That just wasn't going to happen. So eventually I managed to finish the swim, and that was so exciting. And coming out of the beach, I never run up after a swim because I tend to fall over, so I just strolled into the tent, and I was freezing. Has a great volunteer called Felicity, and she was concerned that I had hypothermia. I was incredibly cold, and she didn't really want me to get on the bike and wanted to call the medical director, and I begged and pleaded, and she let me carry on. So she helped put on my socks and shoes. I couldn't use my hands, I was so cold, and wore a lot of layers on the bike. In fact, for the entire 180 k's I didn't actually get hot, which I'd intended to just peel off all the layers, but didn't happen. It was quite chilly for me.
Go, Mum!
About the original first Ironman.
Oh, no mind.
Sorry about
So I set off on the ride. I was very excited to be getting on the bike. I saw Oscar as I rode out of Frankston, and lots of cheers from lots of friends. It was a magic feeling. Saw my children, which was just fantastic. Kieren was filming it, so that was wonderful to have him and James there. It was great. And then on the bike, on the way to Donvale, a long way. It was, the first 45 k's were okay, just stuck to my nutrition plan. I actually did have a plan, unusual for me, even more unusual that I stick to it, but that was very important. The next big challenge was the Melbourne tunnel. I wasn't aware that I was quite so claustrophobic, and I had a bit of a panic attack in the tunnel. Just didn't want to go on, got off my bike, petrified, looked behind me, couldn't go back, had to go forward. And someone could see I was in distress who was coming back to the other side and said, "Don't worry, love, there's light at the end of the tunnel." So that was nice to hear that cliche, and first time I've ever actually heard it said, and it actually did refer to the light at the end of the tunnel. Got out of the tunnel and saw Olivia and Kathy and Pete and King. That was exciting that they come out there, and saw quite a few other of my friends waving, and Kevin had a banner for me, so that was fantastic. So the turnaround, I turned around, had to go back in the tunnel. Again, I hesitated, but somehow managed to do that. Ride back to Frankston was sort of okay. I didn't feel too bad, and got to the halfway mark, 90 k's, to masses of cheers. It was the most amazing feeling to be so supported. It was just unbelievable. I just can't imagine having been able to do it without that support. So turned around, had my special food bag and had my gluten-free Vegemite sandwich as planned. Was pretty concerned about the bike cut-off time because I was actually quite tired, and looking back was probably the being that cold had taken a lot of energy out of me. So I found the second half of the bike, the second 90 k's, a huge challenge. Got back to Donvale eventually. It just seemed to take forever, and then once I got to about 150 k, I really was struggling and thinking, wow, I've still got to find another 30 k, and I was tired, and at times I didn't even want to pedal at all. And there were many times I thought it would be easy to give up, but again I didn't. A motorbike came past me and I thought, oh my god, who's going to pull me out of the race? But he was just seeing if I was okay. Eventually made it back into Frankston. Kieren had thought the cut-off time was 5 o'clock, and it was 3 minutes to 5. I don't think he was aware the swim had started at 7:15, and I actually had 15 more minutes. Anyway, he was hurrying me up, so I rode into Frankston pretty much on my own, and it was great to have the boys there again.
It is. It's Stella. Go, Mum. Mum, smile.
Back into the tent, put on my running gear. Couldn't believe the bike was finally over, and then I just thought, well, nothing else can go wrong. You know, on the bike you can't do anything but ride, in the swim you can't do anything but swim, but on the run at least, you know, I could walk if I needed to. So I was all set to start my first ever marathon. I've been exercising for 10 hours and still had the marathon ahead of me, comforted by the fact that I had 7 hours to do it, and worst case scenario I could pretty much walk the whole way. But I didn't want to do that, and Justin McAvoy, my amazing physio, had insisted that I didn't. So I needed to run as much as I could. I will run eventually. So got going, pretty much a jog, and had so many friends and supporters along the way. Every single aid station I knew someone. It was phenomenal.
Go, Mum.
Beautiful.
Remember, glory lasts forever.
That's it.
Go, Mum.
Is there anything you want to say to people who are watching this?
Never again.
What about when you finish?
Keep going.
Go, Mum.
My walk part, okay?
Yeah.
Hey, station 1.
Come on, Mum. Go, Mum.
The first 10Ks I really wanted to run, and I knew at the 10K aid station I'd see Tammy Blonde, who'd been part of a team, and she was such a supportive person for me on the day. She was so encouraging. I wasn't feeling too good at that spot, but she was saying, come on, you can do it, you're looking good. I was hanging out for a coffee. I really needed a latte, and she said, oh well, Sue's down at Mordialloc, I'll text her. So then all I could think about was getting to Mordialloc and seeing Sue. It's fantastic. Sue and all the Western Suburbs Tri Club people. Sue came running towards me. We had a big hug. In fact, I think I did more hugging than I did running on that marathon. Great to see Sue, but she didn't have a coffee, so I was pretty upset about that. But kept going, and she said, oh, I'll let Kevin know. So Kevin was out supporting me somewhere on the run, didn't know where. Saw a few more people, met some great American guys who, one in fact, had done the very first Ironman, had been a Navy SEAL, so it was really exciting to meet him and some of the other people. It was such a supportive environment. Really had a great time. I stopped for a pretty good break down at the 21K mark, at the half marathon mark, and spent ages there, such that anyone who was following me online thought it took me 13 minutes to do 1 kilometre, but I was actually sitting down having my little picnic, which was great. Got going again. It was dark by now, and running in the dark was scary. Couldn't really see your feet. I felt the course was difficult for us people finishing that late. Saw a figure coming towards me with a coffee cup, and that was Kevin Cassidy with a cup of coffee for me, which was just magic, and that really lifted me. I ran the second half marathon faster than the first half marathon, which amazed me, so I was very happy with that, and seemed to get a second win, so that by 35Ks I was feeling fantastic. Had a bit of a lean, couldn't stop that, but once I could see the lights down at St Kilda, the feeling was overwhelming. I waited so long, I trained so hard, and it meant so much for me to finish this race. Ideally I wanted to finish under 16 hours, even though I had 17 hours. That was my little goal, get there in 16 hours. And the roar at the finish line was indescribable. It was the most wonderful experience of my life. I just couldn't believe how supported I felt. It was magic.
Perhaps over to somebody else on the way. And look at me. The high five. Stories already.
Jimbo.
Here we go. This young lady raced and raised $7,000 for You are stellar. $7,000 she raised for cystic fibrosis. Stella Barber.
What up, Stella? Hey! Stella! Hey! Oh, well done! You alright? Poor bugger. Yeah, okay? Jesus Christ.
And to see everybody at the finish line, the boys, Mark, my brother James, Tracy, my girlfriend, Shanique, Tammy, lots of other people were there for me, and it was just an overwhelming experience.
Good job.
Let's go with one of the volunteers.
You made it, man.
I made it. Under 17 hours.
And mate.
Show the medal. Show the medal.
Yeah.
managed to raise $7,000 for cystic fibrosis and Kathy, Olivia King, so that was amazing as well. Speechless. I'm never speechless, but it was fantastic getting that medal and the towel, and finally after 15 hours 37 minutes and 26 seconds I could stop, and that was incredible.